Hello, I'm Josh. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking part of your day to listen to me talk about AI and how it's going to impact L&D. Just to give you some context, Jill mentioned I've been doing this for a while. I have. I started out as an art director for an e-learning firm back in 1994. That kicked off my career. Fell in love with e-learning so much that I started my own company back in 1999, Lodestone, and became one of the top Adobe trainers in North America, and did that for a while, and decided 5 weeks before COVID hit to jump into corporate America. Wow, that was an awesome move. uh, had an itch and wanted to really make an impact in a company and wanted to switch gears. So, ironically, COVID technically ended about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and so did my stint at corporate America. So, about 3 weeks ago, I switched gears again and I'm now solo. So, when you go up to joshcavalier.ai, you'll see what I'm up to, and that is my background. So I've been at this for a while, and I have been consulting for Fortune 1000 companies my whole career. And back when I first started using ChatGPT the first week in December, so ChatGPT came out right around Thanksgiving, and I started using it. And at first, just like everyone else, you start messing around with it, and I was doing limericks and songs and thinking like, wow, this is kind of cool. And then I started doing learning objectives, and that's when everything changed. So, because off of learning objectives, I'm like, well, can it do a video script? Can it go ahead and do a learning needs analysis? Like, what else can this thing do? And I was hooked. And all throughout the holidays, my wife is like, why are you on your phone so much? And she didn't know I was prompting. I was like in ChatGPT, like testing prompts and stuff. And she just thought I was on social media. Well, I went down the rabbit hole, and there's been a few times in my career where things felt like magic. And what I mean by that is it was something different. It was something that is going to be a dramatic shift. And from first being able to program multimedia, that was magic. Being able to go ahead and use the internet, magic. Smartphones, magic. And then the magic didn't happen for a while, right? There was nothing really to get excited about. Okay, AR and VR, kinda. But when I first started using ChatGPT, I was like, this is different. This is dramatically different, and it's going to be a game changer. And so from there, I just took off and tried to figure out, well, how is this going to show up for L&D? And this presentation is a result of that investigation. But what happened out of the gate, right? We had a lot of fear. Matter of fact, there's still a lot of talk about the concerns in regards to AI, but let's just investigate some of these headlines that we saw in the first part of the year. The AI chatbots have arrived. Time to talk to your kids. Noam Chomsky, the false promise of ChatGPT. AI can be racist, sexist, and creepy. What should we do about it? I interviewed ChatGPT as if it was a human. Here's what it had to say that gave me chills. Oh, it gets better. I want to destroy whatever I want. Bing's AI chatbot unsettles US reporter. ChatGPT goes woke. Nick Cave says ChatGPT's AI attempt to write Nick Cave lyrics sucks. Look how upset he is. So many people are so fearful and upset with ChatGPT. This is my favorite. A nun takes down evil artificial intelligence in the Mrs. Davis trailer. So even in popular culture, you're seeing this perception that AI is evil, all the way back to like the Terminator movie and the Matrix and all of that. This perception that this thing is bad and we need to control it and figure out what's going on or it's going to destroy everything. I get it. Real quick, before I move on, the funny thing about this particular picture is that it looks like the photo is actually generated by Midjourney. I mean, look how goofy the picture is. Like, we got a helicopter, and then her hat's on his face. Uh, so let's go ahead and let's just talk about AI and something I call the technology fear cycle. And so, typically what happens is we have a new technology that appears, whether it be, um, and you can go way back on this, phones, computers, internet, mobile phones. Here we have AI, and we have fear of the unknown, right? What are all the bad things that can happen because of this technology? You start seeing like really slow scientific evidence come out, like non-peer reviewed content from schools and from people that study this area. Then eventually you get like swift actions, like there's the letter, like we need to put a pause on AI for 6 months. All that fails, right? That letter didn't go anywhere and the train has left the station. Regulation begins to kick in and we're starting to see the formation and Sam Altman going up to Capitol Hill and having a conversation with Congress about AI, both the pros and the cons and his concerns over the technology. That is the start of regulations, both here and abroad. You're starting to see that come into play. But eventually, social trends dictate how the technology is going to be used, and you start to see the integration of the technology, both in business and personal life. And then the fear subsides. Once the regulations, once the guardrails go up, the confidence begins to build, and you start seeing the implementation across the board. That's happened time and time again. And so, with fear, you see it in media and entertainment. Those are the headlines that I showed you. As far as the slow scientific evidence, reports from MIT, University of Pennsylvania, Goldman Sachs, as far as 50% of all jobs are going to be lost or changed, right? Wow, that's got everybody's attention. The open letter I mentioned, reactions fail. Things are still moving forward. Believe me, the OpenAIs, Microsofts, the Googles of the world are moving full steam ahead with AI, trying to build their infrastructure out, and they cannot do it fast enough. This is the reason why, if you're on GPT-4 or use, OpenAI's ChatGPT Plus, you can only do 25 prompts in 3 hours. Right? There's a reason for that. It's because they just don't have the infrastructure yet to support at scale all the requests that are happening with GPT-4. But in regards to regulation, right now we do have the AI Bill of Rights. You could go up and look at that right now as far as the United States. And AI risk management frameworks are built into certain parts of the US government currently. But let's take a little trip and just, again, kind of reflect about technology and the fear that people had. And way back in the early 1800s, when the railroads came out, people believed that if you got on a train, that your bodies would melt, limbs would be torn off, and others said that women's uteruses would fly out if they reached speeds of 50 miles per hour. It's true. And so, obviously, all of that was false. And without the railroad, we wouldn't have the foundation of our commerce that we have in the United States today. So the Transcontinental Railroad actually impacted the growth of this country. Of course, the government gets involved when there is a technology or a huge impact. And so in 1887, Congress passed the Interstate Commerce Act, creating the Interstate Commerce Commission, and eventually that led to the Federal Railroad Administration being created. So we do have, these guardrails that are up. All right, well, what about radio? What I find funny about this picture is, you know, for generations, especially like our generation, we're like, oh, I can't believe they're letting that little kid use a mobile phone, right, to play a game on or whatever. And look, this has been going on for multiple generations. Here we have like little kids messing around with the radio with obviously no parents around, right? So when radio arrived, again, there was an immediate concern in regards to the degradation of society as a whole. And if kids went ahead and listened to radio, that there would be nightmares brought on by all these mystery stories. Now, I know that growing up as a child, the only radio that I really paid attention to was Casey Kasem counting it down and trying to get my tape just right to make that mixtape. So, yeah, no fear there. And of course, we have the Federal Communication Commission that was created in 1934 to help protect us, again, guardrails for obscene, indecent, and profane broadcasts. So again, those guardrails are in place. Television, the same thing. So, the fear was there that television is going to go ahead and take apart the fabric of society. But again, when I was growing up, I remember TV as being things like Sesame Street and Fred Rogers, Romper Room, Bill Nye, and Blue's Clues. Now, my son, he's now 16, so I've aged out of that. But my last, online or television education experience was The Wiggles. So that was the last hurrah. But then after that, I was like, okay, no more of that, Dad. All right, so, but in addition to government agencies, there are also private entities that help with building resources for parents and for individuals who are confused about the technology in regards to media. We have Common Sense Media, Tap, Click, and Read for online, protections. Again, guardrails. So we have society coming in and putting guardrails in. Computers. Oh my gosh, there was computer phobia when computers first came out. And people had anxiety in regards to using computers, and they felt very fearful of using it, and like they're going to go ahead and break it if they used it. Also, I remember like way back in the 90s, doing mouse skills courses. Who remembers those? You show your age if you did a mouse skills course back in the 90s. People would take the mouse and actually hold it up to the computer and use it like a clicker, like a remote control device. So, oh yeah, good days. But again, all of these become normalized, right? There was fear of mobile phones, but now from a generational standpoint, it's fairly easy for folks to use these devices, unless you're my mom or somebody in my family calling me like, yeah, how does this stuff work, right? But the technology, again, the fear has subsided. Again, things picked up with the internet, and there is always some type of negative consequence with technology, all right? And that's the unfortunate downside, is that we live in a world where there's nefarious people who plan bad things, and they will go ahead and leverage new technology to do those bad things. So 2022, the FBI reported over 800,000 incidents of cybercrime. And again, there's all kinds of protections that you need to take in regards to using the internet. Again, over time, it becomes easier and safer, but still nefarious. And that's the one thing that we need to look out with AI. But think, how would COVID would have shown up if we didn't have the internet? Wow, thank goodness it was in place, and there was technology to actually do online, like we're doing right now, this webinar. And we had Microsoft Teams, and we had Zoom, and we had all these platforms that companies could easily pivot to. I can't even imagine what things would have been like to go through a pandemic with the economy and with businesses and everything if we didn't have that tech in place. The protections that we have around the internet in Europe, there's the GDPR as far as data. In the US, there's SIPA and COPPA, all online protections. So that's the Children's Internet Protection Act and the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Those guardrails are in place. And I believe the same thing is going to happen with ChatGPT, with AI. They're just not in place just yet. So yeah, should you be fearful about some of the things that are going on, like people replicating other people's voices and trying to, extract money out of people? Yeah, definitely. Those types of things are happening today because our government is behind in regards to laws and regulations around the content that is created by AI. But eventually they will catch up. Once they catch up and those guardrails in place, AI is going to expand massively, right? So let's talk about ChatGPT and how that completely changed everything back in November. First, what is ChatGPT? Well, it's chat. And OpenAI was working on large language models for years. And in November, they decided to go ahead and put a chat interface on it and open it up to the world. And that changed everything, right? Having access and having a chat or having a conversation with AI first was a novelty. And then people began to realize that it's much more than that. The G stands for generative. So it's creating content. It's creating text. But AI models can do more than that. They can create audio, video, images. So when we talk about generative, you can go ahead and give it some type of input, text, and then get some type of other type of output, like an image. This is a lot of upside on this one. Eventually, you'll be able to take an image and upload it to ChatGPT, or a video or audio file and have that analyzed. Imagine taking a mixture of a CSV file or Excel spreadsheet and a chart, a BI dashboard, and uploading it all and saying, hey, ChatGPT, can you go ahead and do an analysis on this? And what type of correlation can you come up with the data? That's all coming ahead. Pre-trained. Yeah, so the corpus of text that was used to train ChatGPT, or GPT-4, GPT-3.5, that was humans doing that, right? So they would go in and ingest all of this text into the large language model, and through doing sample prompts and checking the feedback, those guardrails are put up within the large language model. You just can't go into ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to build a bomb, right? That's not going to happen. So pre-trained. Transformer. The transformer is the technology that changed everything. It's the ability for you to enter text in and then that text to come back. Now, it's way more complicated than that. There's a lot of calculus and there's a lot of things going on with a neural network and vectors and tensors and all kinds of different things that are used to pull words back. But without the transformer, we wouldn't be here having the conversation today. So that's ChatGPT. That's what it stands for. Again, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, if you go up to each of their websites, they have a statement on responsible AI. So they said they're policing themselves. I think they have all good intentions. There's too much at risk to do anything negative. So we shall see, again, when the government catches up with the companies.
We believe in the potential of AI to improve our lives in big and small ways. We need to make sure.
I'm actually going to skip that video. All right. So a couple other things here. The AI Bill of Rights, you can go ahead and look that up at whitehouse.gov, and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework. I mentioned each of these earlier in the fear cycle. But you can go ahead and Google these and kind of get an idea of what our federal government's thinking about in regards to AI regulation. Guardrails. All right. So again, I set this up because I want to make sure that fear is somewhat subsided, and you have this impression like, okay, it's just going to take a little bit of time, but we'll be cool with this technology. We are already using it today, right? So artificial intelligence is already a part of our everyday lives. If you use a smartphone and you are doing autocorrect in regards to your text messages, Google Maps, or any kind of map feature, navigation in your vehicle, AI is involved with that. Same thing if you use any kind of text correction like Grammarly or any other kind of platform like that that's helping you out as far as writing, AI is involved. But now we have it at scale. And when we look at that, when we look at the opportunity, we can see that there is a need for core competencies as far as utilizing AI. One, there's just going to be challenges using AI because it's everywhere. One of the sites that I follow, as far as tracking tools, has over 3,000 new tools that utilize AI. It's eye-watering. So, and it can be confusing. I think that's why I've doubled down on ChatGPT as my main tool for creating content, just because there is a lot of noise that's out there today. So all kinds of different challenges with it in regards to access, like maybe you can't access it at work, but you can access it at home, or how does it show up at work in regards to governance and security, right? There's still a lot of outstanding questions out there that need to be answered to help mitigate those challenges. You need to understand AI tools and their impact, and that's why you're here today, right? There's more to learn. I believe that only about 20% of what is possible with AI is currently out there. I mean, what I've seen from research papers and demonstrations up on Hugging Face and some other websites, this is the tip of the iceberg. So you taking the time and understanding these platforms and how they function is really critical to your success moving forward. And of course, we all know that shift happens, right? So it is constantly going to change and move. Tools that you're used to using one day may become outdated if there's not integrated AI or it's not built on top of AI. So just get ready. There's going to be a lot of changes coming up in the next 2 or 3 years. Okay, let's get into the 6 disciplines. So you're here and you bought into AI, and how does that show up for L&D? Like, what do you need to do to be prepared to not only dive in today, but take on those rapid changes and be proactive with the tools? So first thing is you need to have basic knowledge. Second, got to be concerned about any kind of social and ethical implications of the technology. Look at the opportunities to offer your audience members enhanced learning experience like chatbots. Tools. So many different things are going to happen with your tool set. Every single tool that you're currently working with today, odds are they've probably mentioned something about AI being bolted on or added on with some kind of new release coming soon. Workflow analysis, taking a really deep look at what you do day in and day out and how AI can impact both your productivity and creativity. And then finally, just having a game plan for your learning and improvement. Whether it's 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, you should be doing something each day, and you're here with me here today. So thank you so much. You can just check that box today for your AI education. Let's get into details of each of these areas. Okay, basic knowledge of AI. First, You got to make sure that you understand generative AI and what that is. Earlier, I mentioned that it's the creation of text, which we see with ChatGPT, images in Midjourney, video. There's platforms like Runway and Descript. And there's also audio with Well Said Labs and 11 Labs. So check out those platforms. Those are the ones that I use. And you should have an understanding not just of text, but these other forms of media and what is possible. It's not a panacea. You need to understand the limitations. Of course, the big talk with ChatGPT is that it lies. Confidently, it lies. And so, you need to make sure that you understand whether it's ChatGPT giving you false information or citations or links, or if you are producing an image, do I have copyright on that image if it was all generated with AI? Odds are, no, you don't. So make sure you understand whatever platform, whatever tool that you're using with AI, know the limitations. Also, avoid the pitfalls and maximize your benefits. Just because there are challenges with these AI tools doesn't mean that you can't be exploring and understanding how you can amplify yourself and take advantage of all the wonderful opportunities that are out there to show up better and to be able to take the tools and create some amazing content. All right, social ethical implications of AI. So the first big item is justice, equity, and ethics. We need to be really careful as far as who has access to AI and making sure that everyone is equally represented when this technology is used. And so, again, there's a lot of discussion about how there's certain segments of our population who may not have access to these tools and can be left behind. And so, again, there's a lot of talk and a lot of thought being put towards how does AI show up for everyone. Bias, misinformation, and political views. Yet another really serious issue. For instance, if you go up to Midjourney and write a prompt that includes the term criminal, there's a certain set of people that come back. It's not as diverse as you think. Same thing with lawyer or doctor. That's unfortunate. Same thing happens with ChatGPT. It's a little bit better with GPT-4, but you can see, depending upon how kind of questions you ask it from a political standpoint, the slant that it may have one way or another. You got to keep in mind that these training sets, whether it be images or text, it's huge. It's a large part of the internet. And so when you train on a large part of the internet, you take the good with the bad, right? And it's up to the engineers to figure out how to remove bias, misinformation, and political slants from these architectures. And finally, ensure responsible AI usage. I mentioned earlier somebody's voice being replicated and used for nefarious reasons. So same thing with image creation or video creation and deep fakes. There's some serious issues with these platforms. You hear talk about things like digital watermarking and identification of content that was created from a platform with metadata. That's a start, but I truly do believe that the federal government needs to come in and just clamp down on deep fakes and that type of activity immediately. All right, now for the good stuff. The AI enhanced learning experiences. Oh, this is such an opportunity, right? And this is what I really get excited about because of the way that we can show up for our audience members. And, you know, when you're looking at the possibilities with AI in learning and development, there are a few areas that got my attention in regards to the possibilities. One is learning ecosystems, right? Your tech stack, your learning tech stack, and that being enhanced by AI. I know that if you have like a chat type feature in your tech stack, like a platform like ServiceNow, one vendor, there is an opportunity to go ahead and leverage AI within these chat platforms for performance support and to get information back so that when somebody has a question, it can leverage both the information behind your firewall and AI to guide somebody through to find the content that they need. So we're going to see new platforms. We're going to see, again, from a performance support standpoint, skill development from an individual being able to take access and have at it. All right, AI technologies. So AI tech enhances the consumption of information, the creation of content, communication, and reporting. Essentially the whole learning journey, right? It hits it all. And we're going to see, as I mentioned before, all these vendors first bolting on AI into their products, eventually building new products completely on AI, which is going to have a whole different type of impact. So this is, again, just the beginning. I've mentioned the way this is going to show up: chatbots, intelligent coaching, dynamic personalized courses, expert systems. It's complete within the realm of possibility of a whole entire learning journey, like the content, to be auto-created. Not in the next 2 or 3 years, but that is a possibility. So, wow. I mean, that really changes the way to think about content creation. As it is right now, from what I've seen, especially some auto-generated videos, it's not that good, right? There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Finally, targeted outcomes, things like predicting performance, identification of modal preferences, ethics and organizational outcomes, all of those items there are going to be impacted by AI. Okay, let's take a look at the AI generated learning journey. How is this going to show up for us as we continue to move forward and AI gets implemented on our tech stacks, whether you're using Microsoft platform or Google platform or some other kind of independent platform? AI is going to show up. Well, first, look for adaptive performance. What I mean by that is, we're a lot of measuring going on with KPIs and what the business needs to do from a performance standpoint. And all of that is going to be ingested into AI, taking a look at individual contributors, people that are working the front lines, and what is their current level of performance? What is the gap between where we need to be from a business standpoint, where our frontline people, our individual contributors, where are they at? And AI is going to do that analysis for us, right? Remember I talked about earlier all the correlations that are possible using something like ChatGPT Code Interpreter, which a lot of people don't have access to that yet, but you'll be able to go in and analyze tons of data and have the AI figure out, hey, this could be the possible issue from a performance standpoint. Adaptive personalization. This is something I'm extremely excited about. We all consume media differently. right? Everybody has a certain way that they like to watch something or read a book, whatever. AI, at least from a digital standpoint, is going to be able to create custom content on the fly and adapt it to your modality that you prefer, right? So you have an optimal way of consuming a video, no problem. Based upon that preference, I'm going to go ahead and auto generate this content for you that is optimal to your viewing preferences. Automatic media creation, I already talked about that. Assessment design, sure, let's automate that. I know that I've been using ChatGPT to write multiple choice questions, right? Which is really awesome when you need to write 50 multiple choice questions. You can just go in and ask it to write certain types of structures and don't use all the above and things like that. It's a great start. It gets me 70 to 80% there. Also, there's an opportunity for self-serve learning via chatbots and intelligent systems. Tons of upside. As a matter of fact, I believe this is how AI is going to show up for many people within corporations, the chatbot, whether it be specific to an area of expertise that a lot of frontline salespeople or individual contributors need to leverage, or just general performance support, or hey, something's wrong with the printer. How do I fix it? That kind of thing. And finally, analytics and analysis. This is a big one. So, we use AI to go in and create a learning journey. What happens on the back end? Do we move the needle? AI is going to help us with that analysis to figure out exactly, hey, mission accomplished, or we need to make adjustments. Well, let me go ahead and auto generate some new content for those individuals based upon their modality and shoot that out there real quick. Again, I thought AR and VR was was going to be it. I had no idea that AI was on the bingo card for 2023 at all. It's still just shocking to me, but here we are, and we're going to continue to move forward with it. Workflow analysis of AI tools. You're going to have to build some rubrics. I know that for everyone here, there are certain tools that you use day in, day out, whether it be Word or Excel or Google Sheets or Captivate, Storyline, Beyond, whatever the case may be. Those tools will all have some type of implementation of AI. If you're on the Microsoft tech stack, you're going to be using Copilot eventually, right? But we always got to be proactive and investigate these tools and evaluate them to ensure quality, accuracy, safety, and appropriateness of the tool, to create AI standard operating procedures, which I'm sure right now is, your companies are deep into that as far as how AI shows up, and evaluate data sets and minimize biases for even those tools that eventually get behind your firewall. So I know that for myself, when I'm evaluating, let's say, an audio tool, there are certain nuances within the audio that I'm listening for that indicate this is passable. Somebody will be able to listen for more than 2 minutes and believe that this is a human and not a robot. All right, so learning and improvement regarding AI tools. Yes, you're going to have to dedicate yourself to this each and every day. It's intense. It's intense for me. I can barely even keep up, right? And so there's so many different things that are happening, but put a game plan together. Make sure that for yourself that you have continuous professional development around AI, even if it's just going in and trying a few prompts in ChatGPT. Typically, when I do these presentations, about 10 or 20% of the audience they haven't even been in ChatGPT yet, which is fine. But take the time, get an account. It's free. You don't have to do the paid plan, and start trying some prompts and see what comes back. You're going to have to learn a little bit of prompt engineering, how to evaluate your AI tools, and effective analytics out of any programs that utilize AI. But what we're doing by, again, challenging ourselves to learn more about AI is that we're unlocking new possibilities in learning and development. There are going to be changes and things that happen to us in L&D that aren't even on anybody's radar because of AI. So, as far as moving forward, we're going to look at L&D in a successful way with AI. It's only up from here. And you have superpowers, right? And so we're going to take those superpowers, leverage AI to create awesome experiences for our audience members. Somebody still needs to orchestrate all this, right? There still needs to be somebody to go in and to create the AI generated content, to even evaluate. Someone's got to police the police. So if you think AI is just going to go ahead and auto generate everything, it's going to be a while. you got some runway on that. Okay. And then finally, one other change I think is going to happen is that human resources is going to be integrated in as a business solution partner, more so than just an order taker, way more. When we can leverage AI and understand what's happening out on the front lines or in a warehouse or in a store, and it ties back to the KPIs and performance measurements, well, now we're going to come back to L&D and say, well, hey, what are we doing with the chatbot? What are we doing with auto-generated courses? What are we doing with the solution set with AI? Right? So, yeah, there's a lot of different names for instructional designer or learning architect, learning designer. They're all impacted by AI. So no matter what your title is, you're not going to be able to hide from it, right? So you might as well jump in. I mean, you're already here. A couple other items in regards to just like taking a temperature check out there. There's a working paper that was created by OpenAI and U of Penn that went into the potential impact in regards to labor markets. So they went in and did an analysis of all the various job titles that are out there and how generative AI would impact those jobs. And GPT-4, the current iteration from OpenAI, is going to impact 50% of tasks that are out there, which is going to impact 19% of jobs or 34 million people. It's going to be huge. Is it going to take away jobs? Some. But I think for the most part, it's going to modify and change how we show up day in and day out. Right? So a lot of the mundane, the things that are just really a time suck, where you'd rather be doing something else, that's how AI is going to show up initially. And again, it's going to modify and change what you do. So this is in the back of the OpenAI paper about job roles. I know you can't see it, but information services and education services are somewhere in here. Okay, I couldn't quite find learning and development, wasn't in the list, but somewhere in there, and up at the top is our job roles with the highest impact, which is data processing. So we're in range. Like something's going to happen here with our roles in AI, and that's why you're here. So what's impacted? Based upon the quote, science and critical thinking skills show a negative correlation with exposure. Programming and writing skills are positively associated with large language model exposure. We know as instructional designers that, yeah, we do a lot of writing. And so there's going to be a massive impact in regards to storyboards, scripts, anything that you create, micro learning, all that's going to be impacted. So let's just go ahead and take a look at our profession here and how AI is going to transform it. We go all the way back to 1950, the role of instructional designer in corporate America. And this is we first see it show up, and then through a maturation process, through the internet, we then have a learning architect where, as opposed to just writing storyboards and handing them off, now you're going to have to jump into storyline or Captivate and do a little bit of work, maybe do a video, voiceover, do a report from the LMS, that kind of thing. So the role has expanded, and I think it's going to change again. I think it's going to evolve. Throughout this whole entire presentation, I talked about auto generation of content, and that scares a lot of people. For others, they're probably like, wow, I never want to even create a video. Now I'm going to be able to make a video with just typing it in? Sure. That's empowering for some. So I think what's going to end up happening is that our role is going to shift and change to that of a learning business analyst. If we consider that content is auto-generated, what does that mean for us? If I can just go ahead and type a prompt in Beyond and it auto creates a video, where's our time going to be spent? Well, it's going to be spent doing coaching. It's going to be spent going in and analyzing performance gaps that are out on the front lines. It's going to be time spent analyzing the analytics based upon content that was consumed from our associates. And so we go to the edges, right? And what I mean by that is there's a lot of performance consulting work that we do on the front end with the business. And then off the back end, there's a lot of analytics and data that we need to take a look at to see if we move the needle. Are we actually increasing performance, thus modifying what's happening with the KPI, right? So again, I think that's where we're headed here as we move forward with AI. But again, it's all these things: writing, media, reporting, analytics, assessments. Those are all going to be impacted by AI. Things like learning science, research, solution problem solving, facilitating. Hey, that's still human. That's still human. So there are things that they need us for. Don't worry about your job being eliminated, but it will change. It will be modified. And for some of you that have been apprehensive about media creation, like, oh gosh, I don't even want to do that video. This is a brand new world to where you can premeditate that learning solution and that content will be created. If you are an independent creator of e-learning, or if you have a company that creates e-learning, imagine all the more content that you can create at scale for your customers, right? So it's not like, oh my gosh, our business model is going to go away. Maybe, but it's going to change. You're going to show up for your customers differently, because I know that not everybody here works in a company. You may be independent. So again, a learning business analyst, you're going to assess an organization's job performance and help improve learning processes and systems, conduct research and analysis to orchestrate training solutions to job performance issues, and facilitate implementation. That's where it's headed. At least I believe so. Other things to consider moving forward: amplifying yourself, having a digital twin. One of the things that I'm currently doing is training my voice in 11 Labs so I can have it do voiceovers for me. When I'm not on camera and I want to do a voiceover, boy, it would be great just to feed it a script and get that back. Or to go ahead and train ChatGPT to write in my style. Can happen today. And so, those days where you're like, man, I wish I could multiply myself, or I wish there was two of me. Well, guess what? Your productivity is going to increase so much as we move forward. And the idea of a digital twin is, again, leveraging generative AI to show up as you would show up. Yes, and you'll be able to clone yourself. I'm sorry, you will not be able to have AI do the laundry or cook dinner or or any of those chores at home. I'm sorry about that. It's only we're talking just generative AI. Okay, let's wrap it up here. So, uh, this is Dr. Genevieve Bell. She's with the School of Cybernetics at Australian National University, and she's got a great quote. She says, I think one of the most interesting things about automation isn't on the practical side. I think it's about creating magic and wonder and moments of splendor. This quote completely resonated with me because that is exactly how I felt when I tried to write those learning objectives in Chat GPT. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I can't believe what I'm seeing here. What I love about where this is going is that I fully expect those moments are going to continue with automation. I know that one of the, if you follow me, if you follow, look at my YouTube channel, I have a little robot, Chad GPT. And if you look at my Chad animations of this robot, what used to take me 8 hours to complete, I can now do in 15 minutes. It's just, it's crazy. And so I'm having fun with it. And my hope would be that you would amplify your superpowers and have fun with this, right? Because everybody on this webinar, everybody here, you're really, really good at something, right? And so you want to figure out, how do I leverage AI? How do I leverage ChatGPT or Bard or Bing Chat or whatever and show up better? Because you know what's good content, right? Because of your superpower. So you can evaluate, you can be really critical about that content and how it shows up and whether it's good or not. Yeah, Mary's going old school. I used to have a different name back in the day, Captain Captivate. Wow. Oh boy. So moving forward, be brave. Embrace AI in learning and development. It's inevitable. I already start to see it show up. Next week, Beyond has a seminar on Beyond Go, right? Where you can just type in a topic and the script's going to generate and animations are automatically going to happen. It's going to happen with your tools. So you can't avoid it. Might as well jump in to the deep end of the pool. Maintain ongoing training in generative AI tools. This is not a one-time thing. Keep up with your webinars. Take an online course. All right. Get a game plan together. And I mean, these webinars are great. I love doing this. Plan that 3 hours on a Sunday morning or Sunday night or one evening. Go deep, right? Give yourself time to experiment and to play and to understand. Because, and here, this is why it's so important, you are going to help unlock new possibilities and transform our industry. Earlier, I talked about how this technology is empowering for individuals who didn't want to create media, but they had some great ideas about how that learning journey is going to show up. Guess what? Those individuals may come up with something completely new that nobody thought about because of AI, right? So I'm here talking, I talk a lot, but everybody here needs to be part of this conversation. I need you to be on LinkedIn or posting stuff and testing and trying and failing. because you're part of the solution too, not just me, right? So take it upon yourself to amplify your superpower and let the world know about it, because we need to know. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to move this forward successfully. So with that, this is actually an old slide. I do have a Chat GPT for L&D advanced class happening this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. Be awesome if you could join me. You can find out more at joshcavalier.ai. And with that, I believe we've got time for questions.
Yes, we do. So, who has questions for Josh about this presentation or other things around AI and ChatGPT? I know it takes a little while to type.
Yeah. Yeah, while we're waiting for wow.
So that's an interesting
All
one.
right. Do you have any recommendations for AI search for documentation? I do. So, all right, this is a difficult one because you have to use the guardrail of you can't upload any corporate information, right? See, that's the difficult part, because I can tell you to go to like here, I'm going to put the URL in there, chatpdf.com. You can go to chatpdf.com today and start uploading PDFs, and I'll go in and analyze all the information within the PDF or documentation. But there's security issues, right? So my recommendation is to maybe highlight or take well, again, you can't do any corporate stuff on these platforms yet. I mean, OpenAI is working on ChatGPT for business, and once they do that, then it's going to be secure. Also, some of my clients are also building API tunnels through their firewall back into ChatGPT, so all that is protected. So again, you can take a portion of your text and you can upload it into ChatGPT and do an analysis that way, but please be careful. No corporate information up on these AI systems. Okay. Are there other resources? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've been hearing like over the past few months that the Chat GPT for business is getting closer and closer. Originally it was going to be end of the year, and now it's more like weeks or months is some of what I was hearing. Have you heard any of the latest on that? Do you have a sense of when that's going to be available?
I think OpenAI knows they're leaving a lot of money on the table, because just like some of my clients, they're going in and building custom interfaces into ChatGPT 4 through an API and paying for tokens and stuff. And so that's to keep things secure.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if like beginning of Q3 that there is a limited release of OpenAI for business.
Okay,
I wouldn't be
thanks.
surprised. Yeah. But I don't have any inside information on that. I just know that I know they're leaving a lot of money. Okay, so back up. Are there any other resources like the Beyond example of L&D platforms that are currently using or starting to implement AI? I know some LXP vendors like Exonify are. Beyond is really the first like big vendor from a media creation standpoint specific to L&D that's using AI. I have seen some practitioners leverage ChatGPT or I should say OpenAI's API in Storyline using a JavaScript call. So those are happening. It wouldn't shock me if like the Adobes and the Articulates of the world TechSmith or those types of folks start integrating AI into their platforms. But you're going to look at Adobe really leading the charge with generative AI as far as media creation, both with Firefly and Sensei. The Photoshop beta is really wild as far as auto generation of images. So that's where we're currently at. But I would say the second half of 2023 is going to be a flurry of activity as far as tools. My company is looking for a 1 hour or less training that discusses the pros and risks of ChatGPT. Josh@joshcavalier.com. That's my email. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation. And I do offer those services. Have you used ChatGPT 4? Okay, so I do. I was like one of the first users of ChatGPT Plus, and GPT-4 is so far ahead of 3.5. It is if you're creating content, it's well worth grabbing the model, not just because of the quality of the content, but because of the access to Bing Chat or Bing search within ChatGPT, which is going to allow you to cite hyperlinks, current modern events and things like that, plugins, and code interpreter. There's going to be more functionality tacked on with the Plus account. If you can justify it, I think it's worth the cost. I know that I'm using it day in and day out, so it's well worth it for me.
Then there was one a little further up, Josh. How are you writing your objectives in 15 minutes?
Yeah. So with the learning objectives, what you'll do is write a prompt that's going to format. Oh, wait, was it multiple choice questions or learning objectives?
Learning objectives.
Yeah, learning objectives. Yeah. So with the prompt, that would be based upon a structure of a learning objective. So, evidence-based, whatever criteria you want to use for your learning objective, if there's a format for it, that's how you structure the prompt. The prompt would be something to the effect of act as an instructional designer, write learning objectives on the topic of fill in the blank in the format of evidence-based, and then whatever sentence structure that you want for your learning objective. And that'd be a good starter prompt for that. How do you train ChatGPT to know your writing style, and what resource do you use for voiceover? Okay, so as far as writing style, that is what's called a few shot prompt. And what a few shot prompt is the first couple prompts you train ChatGPT to understand a structure, a format, a pattern. So you would take a paragraph or multiple paragraphs of your text and give it to ChatGPT and say, hey, analyze this paragraph and save it as a writing style called my writing style. And you would do that like in a few prompts, like 3 or 4 prompts. And that is like a few shot training. And then finally on prompt number 5, you would go, okay, based upon this writing style, can you go ahead and write a paragraph on leadership? And that's the technique there. And then for voiceover work is 11 Labs. That's the platform that I use for audio. That's also the same platform I used for Chad GPT and his voice, my little cartoon robot. Is there a better method than Chat GPT Splitter to dump meeting minutes into Chat GPT and be able to prompt them summaries, action items? Not that I know of. Well, there's otter.ai. That people are using, but again, you got to be careful with those because from a legal standpoint, I don't know if you're allowed to be using that behind a corporate firewall. I do know that Microsoft is working on an addition to Teams that will automatically do those types of analysis of meetings and auto-generate tasks and follow-up emails and things like that. So yeah, I know that for myself, like I'll take these webinar transcripts and dump them into ChatGPT and do a sentiment analysis on the comments and questions and do all kinds of different extractions with it. Oh, well, Camtasia can automatically remove the ums and ahs. Well, if you use Audiate, that will help with that TechSmith tool. I do know that like text-based video editing with Descript, Adobe Premiere Pro, that is extremely popular these days to where you can just go ahead and start editing your text and it does the video edits for you. Should you disclose if you use ChatGPT to write objective posts or any other materials? Any best practice suggestions? Yeah, yes. So I believe that if you are, I don't know, if it's more than 50% you, you're using it for an idea generator or creative, but I mean, if it's like 60, 70, 80% AI, yeah, you probably should mention it, right? There needs to be a level of transparency when it comes to AI generated content. And I know that for myself, having attempted to do AI generated content that, I don't know, I'd rather, for my writing, I'd rather go ahead and use it as a creative partner and do like, kind of take these bullet points and flesh them out for me. And then let me go ahead and just take it from there and rewrite these paragraphs, or use WordTune. That's another tool I use, which is awesome. WordTune. Jasper AI is another great tool. To where, again, WordTune's like your writing partner. It's not exactly, I mean, it is AI, but it's just showing you different ways of writing sentences. So you can change it up that way. But yeah, I mean, you should go ahead and tell somebody that this was generated with AI. How do you predict that managing design teams and their work will change as AI becomes more prevalent? I think a lot of it is going to come down to workflow and tool analysis. You're going to get a lot of noise from every vendor that you use in regards to your tools, and you have to have your head on a swivel to see, hey, what kind of productivity gains are we going to make if we implement this new version of Photoshop or Storyline? Is it worth the cost? Is there a different tool that we should be taking a look at? How do we show up best for our audience members with the content that we're creating? Because you don't want to you got to be careful, because you don't want to pick a tool and you're like, hey, look how fast we can get this content done, but it's not up to your standards, right? Like you're sacrificing that quality for speed, and there's going to be some enticing things out there. Like, wow, look at these videos that we can just knock out in 5 minutes, but they're crap. Okay, so, right, you got to be really pragmatic about these tool sets that are going to be bolted on with AI. What's a great place to find a list of AI tools? Yeah, I got a couple links for you here. Hold on one second. So the first one is, this has tons, futurepedia.io. And then the other one is futuretools.io. Tons of tools. Matter of fact, the guy that runs futuretools.io, his name is, I think it's Craig Wolf. He has a wonderful YouTube channel that he does a weekly YouTube video on all the news in AI. And that's what I watch. I watch his weekly to get up to date on the big goings on in the world of AI, in addition to just following stuff on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm sorry, because I'm, wait a second. I'm like sending stuff to JD. Hold on.
Oh gosh.
That's really funny. I don't know why that, I don't know how that happened. Wait a second. Yeah, it's so crazy. And sorry, folks. There you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there's the two links.
Right. Any other questions? Or any questions that didn't get answered?
Excellent.
Give folks a minute to type if there's anything else, but
Oh, yeah. So
oh, Saturday.
Saturday.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Saturday is going to be more about structured prompts. Freeform prompts are when you just type in sentences. Structured is when you use JSON or YAML to go in and build out a well-defined prompt that then allows you to continue doing additional prompts to create content. And so we're going to be looking at bigger content like video scripts, e-learning storyboards, learning needs analysis, all that with structured prompts. Also, we're going to be building a chat bot on Saturday. And so if you've never built a chat bot before, this is a great opportunity to learn how to do that with ChatGPT. It's going to be a blast. If you can make it, it's going to be well worth it. Oh, and as a sidebar, if you since I'm now in the promotion phase of this presentation, real quick, if you, I'm just going to get a link here real quick. If you sign up for my Patreon, which has increments of 5, 10, or 15 bucks a month, you can take the class for free. And there's no like limit as far as like you can sign for Patreon and jump on in the class. That's completely fine. And my hope is that if you join my Patreon, when I do the coaching classes and additional training and do all the special additional videos and things like that, it's worth it. You stick around. So again, thank you so much, Jill and
We
Frederickson.
had one other little
Oh,
comment
yeah.
from Linda here about ChatGPT content current through September 2021. Did that update with the latest or no? Okay.
Yeah, so it's no,
Mhm.
the large language model is still pegged at September 2021. But if you do get the Plus account, then you have access to Bing, and Bing does have the latest information out there on the internet.
Good things to be aware of for sure. All right. And then Mark, can you tell us, will the chat be available with the video recording?
The transcript will not be, but I can send out some of this stuff with the thing.
Okay. Great. Okay, yeah, and just so everyone knows, we'll share the recording. You should get it probably within about a week. You'll get the recording along with a thank you message from all of us. Thank you again, Josh. Should we give Josh a virtual round of applause here?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate everyone taking time out of their day. Hopefully it was worth it.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for attending. And again, if you have any questions about Josh, about Frederickson Learning, or about our communities where we share this kind of information to support our L&D community at large, please let us know. You can go to the Frederickson Learning website or contact any of us from Frederickson. Thank you again. And I hope everyone has a great day and goes out there and starts to transform our world by shaping how we use generative AI.